All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're diving into a really fascinating, kind of mind-bending model from our source material that connects two of the most important prophets in history using one single incredible shape.
So let's just jump right in with a pretty provocative question. This is really the core idea, the paradox we're going to unpack today. I mean, it seems impossible, right? But as you'll see, this model shows how these two forces are totally connected.
Okay, so to even begin to wrap our heads around this, we need a special kind of map, you could say. The Mobius strip. And no, this isn't just some weird math thing. For what we're talking about today, it's like the blueprint for the entire spiritual journey we're about to map out.
And here's the kicker, the really crucial point. What looks like two separate sides, like pride on one side and submission on the other, well, they're actually the same continuous surface. You can't get off it. It's an infinite loop, and you're just traveling along this one single twisted path.
So, where does this whole thing start? Well, this infinite loop of conflict, it all kicks off with one single act of pride. When Iblis was commanded to bow to Adam, he refused. And his reason for refusing? It all came down to a huge miscalculation about what things are really worth.
And right here, you can see the massive flaw in his thinking. He looked at Adam, and all he saw was the material, the clay, and he thought, that's inferior to my fire. What he completely missed, what he was totally blind to, was the ruch, that divine spirit that God had breathed inside. That was the real source of honor.
So you see, that moment of pride, it wasn't just some simple act of saying no. In this model, that choice is the twist. It's what takes a straight path and twists it into this Mobius strip we're talking about. And that one twist creates the whole dynamic, the push and pull between conflict and mercy that really defines the human experience.
So this one twist gives us what looks like two opposite paths, but remember they're on the same surface. On one side, you've got the path of mercy, right? That's linked to water, to the angel Michael, the one that sustains life. And on the other, you have the path of wrath. That's fire, that's Iblis, and its job is to test us and burn away all the falsehood.
Which, of course, brings us to us, the human journey. How do we navigate this thing? Well, the source material gives us these two amazing prophetic examples, these archetypes that show us the two main ways to travel this crazy, twisted loop of knowledge and sincerity.
All right, first up, we've got Musa, peace be upon him. He's our first archetype. He steps onto this loop already armed with knowledge. I mean, the man could read, he could write, he could reason. He received a law on tablets, a written word. And his test, his huge test, was to take that knowledge, that literacy, and use it to call out the lies of Pharaoh, who is like the ultimate symbol of pride. But here's the trick. He had to do it without letting that knowledge turn into its own kind of pride. His knowledge needed to be purified by total sincerity.
Now let's walk over to the other side of this same loop. Here we find the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He enters the loop from a completely different starting point, pure sincerity. He couldn't read or write, and you have to understand, this wasn't a weakness, not at all. It was actually his proof. The revelation he received, the Quran, was a spoken word delivered by Gabriel. And because he was illiterate, it was the ultimate proof that the message was pure, that it came directly from God, not from him. There's just no way he could have written it himself.
So you can see how their journeys are like perfect mirror images of each other, right? Musa begins with knowledge and has to travel the path to find sincerity. Muhammad begins with sincerity and is then gifted this immense knowledge. They start at different places, but on the same exact loop. And together, their paths cover the entire surface, showing us the two ways to bring these powerful forces together.
And this is really the key thing to get here. We have one path, Musa's path, which is about knowledge gained through literacy, through the written word guided by God. And then we have the other path, Muhammad's, which is about knowledge that comes beyond literacy, a direct revelation that bypasses the written word completely.
And this is how that whole spiritual cycle we mentioned earlier, this is how it all comes together. Musa's journey, taking knowledge and purifying it with sincerity, that bends the loop towards Gabriel, the angel of truth. And Muhammad's journey, starting with pure sincerity and receiving knowledge, that bends the loop back towards Michael, the angel of mercy. Together, they complete the entire circuit that started with that single spark of pride from Iblis.
So that leaves us with one last thing to think about. This whole model, this Mobius strip, it's not just some cool, abstract story about prophets from long ago. It's actually a map for our own lives, for our own spiritual journey. So the question for you is, where are you on the strip? Are you on the path of Musa,
starting out with knowledge and trying to make sure it's grounded in sincerity? Or are you on the path of Muhammad, starting from a place of pure sincerity and seeking knowledge? Where are you on the loop?